Common, congratulations on receiving your Emmy nomination for your original song for the film 13th. It was one of 8 nominations that the film received at the Emmys. Just earlier this year, it was nominated for the Oscar as Best Documentary Feature. So I want to know what the recognition means, not just to you, but to everybody involved with this film, that it's been so widely praised and recognized by all these awards groups.
Well, when Ava began the film, she said she started it because it was a work of passion. It was something that, you know, when she thought about what she wanted to create next after Selma, it was this film, 13th. It was a documentary dealing with mass incarceration and how slavery can be called different things, but mass incarceration is a form of slavery. With her creating this film is such an eye-opener for so many people in America, and for me to be able to be attached to this movie as a songwriter with Letter to the Free, and to see it get the nominations and, you know, the notoriety that it is received, for me, it's like, not only do we feel great as artists, but I feel that I can speak for the both of us and everybody involved, that we're grateful there's something that has this type of substance, something that can be meaningful to culture and to our country and to awakening people to this epidemic, that it is getting award nominations, because awards bring attention. And, you know, I would say one of the greatest lessons I learned from just even receiving an Academy Award was to use this platform on a greater level. Like, that created a certain like spotlight that came my way. So how will I use that spotlight? And I think, you know, to be a part of 13th and to have Letter to the Free be recognized by the Emmys is like, how am I going to use the spotlight?
Right. As you said, the film is eye-opening, and it certainly is, because I think that you know, we all understand that there are problems with the prison system, but the parallel that she draws, the sort of the through line that she draws between slavery to Jim Crow to the prison system is something that I think a lot of people have never really thought about, and it is something that when people see the film, they kind of go, "Oh my God, that's, you know, that's pretty accurate." And what did you think when she first told you about the idea for this film?
Well, I really said, Ava, can I please write a song for it? Because this subject matter had been really on my heart, because I read a book called The New Jim Crow, which really dealt with, you know, slavery to Jim Crow to mass incarceration, all as forms of keeping people at a certain level, all as a forms of marginalizing people, people of color. And seeing that was really affecting us as people in America. I really felt, when I knew Ava was doing this film, I was like, Ava, can I please write a song about it? Because like, I was, you know, I just read the book and I was reading it a second time. So I got more information when I saw her film, because the 13th, I didn't know the 13th Amendment said that slavery is abolished unless someone commits a crime. I didn't know about ALEC, which was, you know, this organization that was formed so that a lot of companies were a part of, that was part of the business of prisons. So there was a lot of information in 13th that I received from like just being a part of it and just watching it, but getting an early copy. But I have to say it was continuously eye-opening, but this was like, for me, something that I was on the path of and passionate about, being part of the change.
And the title of your song, Letter to the Free, it really drives home the point of the film. Can you talk a bit about where, I guess, the origins of the song began, where the initial idea of it came from?
Yeah, the initial idea for Letter to the Free, it began with me reading The New Jim Crow, and And knowing the 13th was being made and asking Ava, could I please create a song for this? And she said, submit a song. I was on an airplane, excuse me, flying to London, and I really started to think about Nina Simone's music, some Billie Holiday's music, and I just really wanted to make the song have a resonance that's poetic, but also gets to the point. And I called it, a letter to the free, saying this is a letter to us here in America. We are the land of the free, but is everyone truly free? And are we really doing the things to install, not only install freedom, but to maintain freedom and to create freedom for others? So I just began writing it, and the thoughts came to my mind. Southern leaves, southern trees, we hung from, barren souls, heroic songs unsung. Forgive them, Father, they know this knot is undone. Tied with the rope that my grandmother died. Pride of the pilgrims affect lives of millions. Since slave days, separating fathers from children. Really, the beginning, I wanted to start with the foundation of slavery being something that dehumanized Black people and separated families and really created a fear. And I eventually wanted to get to the struggles of Jim Crow and some of the dehumanization of Black people and people of color that we see today, and also correlated to what mass incarceration is, because it's separating, obviously, a lot of fathers from their children and people from their families, and it makes it hard for an individual who has been incarcerated to come out and get a job or housing, to even vote. So I wanted to put those points in there without it being preachy or a history lesson, because I felt like Ava had covered the history of it in a beautiful way.
Right. I definitely heard that Nina Simone, Billie Holiday influence in there when I was listening to the song. Yeah. Listening to the lyrics as you speak them now, I mean, it really, you're telling a story in this song. I mean, you've been a songwriter for, I guess, over 20 years now, or something like that. So can you talk about how, I mean, when you're constructing a song, telling the story within that song, what's your process like?
Well, my process is, first, I just seek the purest thoughts that come to my heart and mind, right? And I do that by allowing, the music. I was blessed to have Robert Glasper, who's this phenomenal musician, and Kareem Riggins produced this track. And we had, some great musicians like Roy Hargrove, a trumpeter, and Elena Penderhughes on flute, helped just create this, and Bernice on bass. It just created a music palette that I'd already started my vocals because I was just inspired, but that music helped create and continue the spirit of what I wanted to write about. So my process is to look at the film and see what story is being told, and what can I contribute to that story that will add on to the idea, and also sum it up, also kind of just wrap it up and just be able to sum it up in a certain way. And it's funny that when I'm talking about this makes me think, it was times where I would go to church, and the pastor, once I released music, would have me come up and freestyle. And I would listen to his sermon, and he would always be amazed at how I would sum up his sermon in my freestyle. And I feel like when I'm writing a song, an entitled song or a song for a film, I really need to just know what the DNA and the energy and spirit of the whole film is. And from that point, I was just writing, just saying, how can I vocally tell this story that Ava told and sum it up? And the beautiful thing is, when she heard the song, because she was really she was like, I don't know if we should do we just did Selma. And I had to sell her on the picture, look, you know how many times Martin Scorsese works with Leonardo DiCaprio? you know, like directors, artists work together. Like this is what it is. So I I channeled that to her. And then once she heard the song, she really was like, okay, this is beautiful. It's perfect for the film. And she ended up changing the end of the film because of the song, because of Letter to the Free.
Mm-hmm. There's always been this, throughout the history of rap and hip hop music, there's always been this social context in the lyrics. There's this social message that goes along with all of the great beats and music to it. Can you talk, since you've been a part of that great hip hop boom of the early 90s and late 80s, can you talk a little bit about the ways in which that has developed over the past 30 years or so?
Yeah, well, you know, the first hip hop record I ever bought, my father actually bought it for me as a gift, was Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel's The Message. That was a record that I believe came out in 1980. And it's The Message. It was really a socially conscious song, and still to this day one of the best written rap songs ever. And one of the most socially conscious, and the lyrics still relate to life today. Hip hop always carried that torch of being able to have something socially relevant, to be the voice of people of the present, have something revolutionary in it, because it's been the voice of people from the inner cities, starting with Black and Latino. So it was so much for us to say that we would express it in the most truthful way, and you would get that social consciousness without it being politically correct, without it being like filtered. It was just truth.
Mm-hmm.
I think when hip hop became more popular, some people veered off to trying to make it more business oriented, like just the art of it becoming more business. But people still needed that voice. So it was always still some hip hop artists that kept that voice and that pulse. If we fast forward from the 90s, late 80s, where you had Public Enemy, NWA, Brand Nubians, people like Big Daddy Kane, Boogie Down Productions of KRS-One, Poor Righteous Teachers, all these groups that were conscious. We can fast forward to now, but throughout those years, there's always artists that created music. Some of them never got to get to the popular level because of the popular music wasn't so conscious all the time. But hip hop still kept that pulse. And then when we come to present day, one of the most popular rappers now still has a pulse on speaking to socially conscious things, and that's Kendrick Lamar. Mm-hmm. His music has transcended, obviously, race, age groups. His music is played in during the marches, but it's also played at basketball games. And I think that relevance and social consciousness is always valued when done well. That's my thing. If you're going to make something, that has a voice and is saying something and it's meant to inspire, do it in excellence so people will digest it and appreciate it and get the meaning and want to sing it or want to watch it.
Absolutely, much like this film. I mean, it takes history and rather unpleasant history and presents it in a very vibrant, at times even, I guess you could say, entertaining, in the sense that you're not bored watching it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, can I say this to that? Like that was very significant, what Ava did with this, because it's such a history lesson for so many people. But I mean, when I know college students that came up to me talking about it. I know like 60-year-old white folks that I met at the airport that have talked to me about it. You know, Latino sisters that I've had come to me and say something. It's just like, I've been in other countries. I've been in England, where they just like, man, the 13th. It's such a, like, as we keep using that word, it's an eye opener, but it has to be done in excellence for people to want to watch it. And as you said, it still has to have some entertaining aspect to it.
Right. I wanted to ask you, I mean, you mentioned Selma, and I wanted to talk to you about your Oscar win for that. not just about winning the Oscar, which we kind of touched on earlier, but about performing at the Oscars. I mean, it was a really rousing moment with you and John Legend and that choir in the background. I remember people were standing and crying. I was crying at home. So talk a little bit about performing at the Oscars and what that meant for you.
Well, performing at the Oscars was one of the greatest moments in my life. And to be on that stage, on the Academy Awards stage for Selma, for the song Glory, and to be representing the people of the women and men of the civil rights movement. I mean, I couldn't have dreamed or written. All I could do is pray for something that great. And it was just, you know, one of the things that I look back and feel most grateful for was during that time period, I really tried to take in every moment and be clear. You know, I was like eating healthy, like just be like, look, I want this. I want to remember these things and be present. And I can remember going onto that stage before they announced us and talking to some of our background artists and like just really saying, hey, y'all, this is bigger than us. We here and this is bigger, this is greater than us. And I felt their energy of them knowing that, and we recognized that. And to be on that stage was something that was bigger than us. Was like, you know, like definitely the greatest moment up to date in a performing career, but definitely one of the greatest moments in my life.
It's certainly one that will be remembered for a long time afterwards.
Thank you. My mother was there too, so that meant a lot.
Wonderful. I'm sure she was proud. So lastly, you know, as an awards statistician, you also have 3 Grammys in addition to your Oscar. If you win this Emmy, you'll just need a Tony Award to become an EGOT. So are you writing a Broadway play or do you have any plans for that?
Well, I have plans to write a Broadway play, to produce a Broadway play, and to act in a Broadway play. Now, they might not all be the same exact project, but I definitely want to dive into Broadway and give and I'm saying this because I love theater. I love theater, and I haven't yet to had the opportunity to be as an actor to be in theater, but I really want it, and I really want to, you know, produce and put great theater out there. One of my favorite things to do is to go to plays when I'm in New York, whether off Broadway or on Broadway. But I would love to have a play on Broadway so we can get closer to that, to the EGOT. You know, we can achieve that EGOT. Now, I'm one to say and be truthful about the fact that I really would love to achieve an EGOT. I mean, it's how many people I know how many? It's only like 13, 12 people who have achieved.
It's about a dozen, or 13, yeah.
Yeah. So, look, that's a phenomenal aspect. I mean, I will say this: nothing is more important to me than creating art that is great and that I'm passionate about and that can impact people's lives and help improve the planet and people's lives. But I do enjoy receiving recognition, in whether it may be, you know, whether it's through the Tony Award or Emmy Award, or, you know, just even people coming up and saying, man, we appreciate your music. But the Tony and the Emmys would be something being recognized by artists that are of your likeness and people that, you know, really pay attention to the history of the art form, whether it's music, filmmaking, or television. So to be recognized by them, just to be nominated for an Emmy is already great, but I would love an Emmy and a Tony and be able to say, you know, I'm one of those 12 or 13.
It's a very exclusive club, yeah. Well, best of luck, and congratulations again on the nomination. Thank you for your time, and I want to see that Broadway show whenever you get it produced, so send me some tickets.
Great, I'll make sure you're there. Have a great rest of the day, man, all right?
You too. Thank you so much. Have a good one.